Today is Saturday, October 13th, 2018. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is the Listener Feedback Show for Episode 3 of Survivor, David versus Goliath.
I like that intro. I've decided that's calling the Superfans tribe. That's what the drums are all about. Calling the tribe in. It's time to gather round. It's
like Jeremy?
Listener feedback time. No, not like Jeremy. I'm not going to preach to anyone.
That's what it made me think of.
I'm not going to give the hypocrisy speech
I like
that
your
Jeremy
version
did.
Better.
Yeah, it's calling in the superfans because we're doing listener feedback. Today's the day. Joanne and I did the recap on Wednesday. Now we turn the reins over to you guys. Share your analysis, your predictions, your particular view on things, because you may see things through a different prism than either Joanne or I do, a different lens, if you will. And we look forward to hearing your take on what you saw in this episode and what you think we can look forward to next. And that's definitely going to be an uncertainty with the shuffle coming.
Definitely.
Yeah, a lot of folks are lamenting that as they're trying to figure out.
Well, they've been doing an excellent job shielding information.
I believe so, yeah. You're talking about the edit?
Yeah, no photos and, beforehand.
Well, it almost seems like there's a cutback a bit on that, right?
Well, there's cutback on everything. Let's be real. But yeah, definitely in that area, they've really cut back a lot of stuff, and so hence not a lot out there to base anything
prognosticate on. About, yes.
Yeah. Even the previews aren't showing a whole lot of anything. So.
Except you might be like the super fans on the Survivor Fans podcast, which are great judgments of human character.
That's true.
With lots of world experience to share, and that can lead them to deeper insights than you can get elsewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like how you didn't include me in that.
I don't know why you chose to try to make it about you, but okay.
I just thought that
I was trying to do something for the fans.
Them,
yes.
And I thought, well, aren't we too? Mm-hmm. Instead of us.
Yes.
All of us.
I think that says more about you than it does about me. But moving on.
Just noticed it.
Anything.
Pick.
Anything you want to share before we get started?
I don't think so, baby.
Well, how about how many folks sent in feedback this week? Give me the number there.
22.
22. People are excited about this season. They're liking it. I think we're on the rebound. Ghost Island was a bit of a sour note. But this one, doing much better, and this cast has got us entertained and interested. Let's kick it off with a call from Pete.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy. This is Pete from Boston calling here, and I gotta let out a great big woo! That was a very good episode of Survivor, David versus Goliath. So let me get into it, guys. First of all, guys, I am so glad that finally the David tribe won a challenge, and we got to see more of the Goliath team now strategize a little bit. And I got to say, hats off to a Christian for figuring out that tough puzzle there in the torrential rain there with Gabby. I really like Christian working with Nick, and I'm curious to see if he's going to be more loyal with Nick or if he's going to be more loyal with Gabby. That's going to be interesting down the road there. And we'll see Davey has the idol still and no one knows about it looks like. A little bit worried about B's knee there. Hope she doesn't have to get medically evacuated too. But I'm not a big fan of hers, but I gotta say, I like that she's playing and she's doing pretty good in challenges. But great for the David team to win. But let me get into the Goliath team. Man, I did not think Jeremy was going to go. I was really starting to like him. But as you would say, Stacy, I think he overplayed a little bit when he was talking about he saw his team strategize and this and that, who was with who, and you never want to do that early and all that. Clearly he was trying to do too much, and it cost him there, and that's why they got rid of him and kept Natalie, because Natalie can't win challenges, and you know if she's somehow in the final three with, say, John or whoever it is, she can't win. She won't get one vote on a jury. So there you go, and all that. And I'm glad we got to see some of Natalia and Angelina. Clearly those girls, especially Natalia, I think it was, have game, and she was the one that I think orchestrated that blind side. Or Angelina did, because I get them mixed up with that. But good for them, though, on making the move on Jeremy, even though I'm sad to see him go and all that. So we'll see what happens, guys, with the tribe swap. Hopefully the teams are even, because remember now, Goliath technically is one more member than the David, because the Davids have lost 2 members to Goliath's 1. So we'll see how the teams go. Hopefully they're even and all that. We'll see if these idols are unleashed or not, too, or if more are found. But it should be a great tribe swap, guys. Love this episode. Take care. Woo!
Thanks, Pete. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out for sure, and it seems likely that we could see an idol play in week 4, don't you think?
Yeah.
Anyone who ends up on the short end of the alliance numbers is going to be thinking very heavily about that. What'll be interesting is if they both end up on the same side, or if the nullifier comes out, and that might be what the coconut that Carl's chasing in the preview.
I really think, whether it was this week or at least eventually, that Jeremy would have
self-destructed without
Angelina or anybody else even helping. I just think he was headed that direction, and that's what was going to happen.
It's unfortunate. You could tell he had some game knowledge.
Absolutely, he does. And he seems like a nice enough person, but he's almost too paranoid and too needing to have control over everyone. Now, he wasn't as overt necessarily as Natalie was from the straight out the gate, but it's
that's kind of hard to say now.
There, yeah, it's. Well, you're right. Maybe he was, and they didn't.
I think that ended up being his story arc, his attempt to make Natalie aware of the lack of self-awareness as he demonstrated his own.
I think
the editors had a good time with him, one way or another.
I think he really just wanted to get control over her in some way, for her to depend on him, so that he could see himself in the lead role.
Oh, so you're saying he felt threatened because she was constantly trying to do a leadership thing. Yeah.
I think so, and telling people what to do, and he wanted to tell people what to do, not her.
Interesting.
And I think that's why he wanted to, kind of gather up with her.
I go back to the editors and how I think they're doing a really good job. Was it week 2? I think it was the episode before last, where they showed him getting spun around by the wave. Just completely caught off guard. He got helicoptered by that wave when he was sitting down there with no clothes on in the water.
Oh, yeah.
This is a visual of his game.
And they said, Jeremy has on no clothes. That might have been extra clips, though.
How he actually performed overall in the game. He just got spun around and spit out.
He said, what happened?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Good deal. Thanks, Pete. Next up, we got an email from Mike in New York. Hey, Joanna, Stacy, and Survivor fans. Here's my feedback on episode 3 of the new Survivor season. Coming back from Tribal in the beginning of the episode, I think Christian made a smart move telling Davey that Gabby was the one that pulled the strings to take out Jess and take the target off his back. Despite it being smart for himself, it makes me question where his allegiance lies, either with Gabby or Nick. Mm-hmm. I think that was pretty clear where his allegiance lies. For his sake, and I have nothing against Gabby, Nick would be a great partner to work with strategically to get further in the game. That is, if they end up on the same tribe after the swap that we saw is coming next week. They could be the new JT and Steven or Dominic and Wendell. Hopefully I'm not jumping the gun on that call. Speaking of jumping the gun, boy, did I do that with Jeremy. You could almost call this episode The Jeremy Show, really digging himself a hole that was almost too deep to climb out of. He reminded me of Garrett from Cagayan, but worse. Telling people not to have side conversations, making his paranoia extremely apparent, then going off and having side convos with almost everyone. At first throwing Dan under the bus because of his idol and his alliance with Cara and showing his hand way too early. That wasn't the only move that sealed the deal for him, nor do I think it was his paranoia. I believe him going off on Natalie when he really didn't need to at camp or at Tribal in the way he did, sent him packing. His funeral comment about Natalie was very out of line and almost made me hope Natalie stayed, which at first I really didn't want to happen at all. Angelina, much like Jeremy last episode, showed her willingness and mind for the game, but despite her persuasion and conversations with people at camp, I really think it was Jeremy who did Jeremy in. She's building her stock on the strategic side of things, but hopefully she doesn't paint a big target on her back after the swap.
Well said.
Couple quick things on the challenge. Whenever the editors show clips of the tribe strategizing before it begins, I always feel as though something will go wrong for them. So when Natalie made the executive decision to be a part of the puzzle-solving portion, I didn't see it going well for the Goliath tribe. Also, if B has an injured knee before the game, why has she competed in the last two showdown portions of the challenges? So, and then he says, especially this one, well, she injured her knee prior to coming out on Survivor. They weren't saying that she had an injured knee, I don't think, coming into the game here.
No, I think it's a re-injury.
Yeah, exactly. She didn't come in injured. She had recovered. All I can say, though, is I'm glad she didn't get medevaced, and it didn't seem too bad for the time being, especially after the Davids won the challenge. Then it would look like nothing would go right for them. Personally, I hope John and Christian end up on the same tribe after the swap. Then John can answer all of Christian's questions about Slamtown. And I really think they'd be a great pair to watch, regardless of the Mason-Dixon alliance. Maybe Dan and Cara will be split up, and Dan can play more of his own game, if he has any, which I think will be interesting to see. Also, with this episode, the first one, Allison finally got a confessional. I could be wrong, but I feel like I haven't seen much of her since the first challenge on the boat, or her getting rocked by a wave last episode. Lastly, I love seeing how excited these contestants seem to be playing the game, even in the pouring rain and the harsh conditions, with the exception of Gabby in the scenes for next week. Maybe the switch will change her attitude. Anyway, I hope everyone has a great week, and I look forward to hearing from everyone else. Thanks again, Joanna and Stacy, for your hard work. Keep it up. Thank you, Mike. You're doing great on your feedback. Next up, we got a call from Shea.
Hey guys, it's Shea. First, I wanted to say Josh the Plush Moose should be a stand-up comedian or a comedy writer. He's hilarious. I wait for his email every week. And not to beat a dead horse, but can somebody please go back and watch the very first challenge of the first episode? Because I've got to defend Lyrsa again. You know, everybody's talking about she didn't do it alone, the 8-second puzzle. Well, the 8-second puzzle wouldn't matter if they were a minute behind the other team, and they weren't. And that's because Lyrsa was hauling butt for a short, chunky woman on that challenge. I mean, you can only move as fast as the leader, and she was the leader. And they were climbing through rope tunnels and all kinds of stuff. I mean, you go, girl. The other thing I was going to say is I don't think Angelina is that persuasive. I think $1 million is. I think a couple of people just came over to her way because it was clear the larger group was going for Jeremy, and you know, put your game on the line for an easy vote later. My other thought is they didn't show very much of Elizabeth in this episode, except for managing to get the sled to pull it towards the team. Out of everybody, she's been playing a really smart game and a quiet game. I don't think anybody suspects her. I hope she can continue that no matter what team she lands on. And I think Jeremy had to know he was in trouble, because knowing about Dan's idol was power for him. And he was just running around spilling that information to anybody that would listen, and that just kind of felt desperate to me. I don't know that he knew for sure, but I think he had a feeling. I don't know if it was a blindside, but, and I think John could be a dark horse. I really do. I'd be able to fool everybody into thinking he's just that funny guy, but thinking the whole time privately about how to win. I say that, though, but after the first episode, I also said that I thought nothing could get Gabby down, that she was going to be a positive vibe for her team, and I couldn't have been more wrong about that. I think she's broken down twice now. And next time on Survivor, Abby breaks down. Can't wait to hear what everybody else has to say, and can't wait for next week's episode. You guys have a great day. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Shay. If you're keeping count on the breakdowns, I think Carl's got her beat, though.
Yeah.
if you're watching the extra videos.
I also wanted to say, Shay reminded me of it. You and I have talked about it, but I noticed after that very first challenge on the boat, when Larsa came back on the mat with the rest of her tribe, she was soaking wet.
She fell off.
Her hair was wet. Her clothes were wet.
That was a good observation.
And I think she probably fell off that pole into the water. And they didn't show any of it because she couldn't have gotten that wet any other way that I can see.
No one else was, it wasn't a rain.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't get rained on while they're standing there.
I ran it back, and said, hey, wait a minute.
You picked up on it.
She is wet.
Yep. So she crawled out there and went, I can't get back. So I'm still going to go back and forth a little bit with you and Shay on her role in that first challenge. It was the easiest, by design, the easiest path to go through the whole challenge.
True.
So the fact that she made it through there. Well, I didn't say she didn't contribute, but she didn't. She didn't. She wasn't the reason they won, I don't think. Which is what my point was.
She's not the only reason, but she did contribute.
Yeah.
Which you're trying not to give her any credit.
I'm saying that she deserves less credit than...
Don't disagree with me,
the emphasis. Oh, all right, moving on.
Okay, there we go.
Next up, we got an email from Tina in Virginia.
Dear Joanne and Stacy, it is a pleasure to hear from you again. Your two voices and analytical skills give me great enjoyment and relaxation. Thank you. After listening to your show, I eagerly await the listener feedback and their familiar voices. I hope you both have been well, and as always, it is a pleasure to have you and your listeners in my life again.
Thank you.
I moved to New York City over the summer and suffered a slight back injury. Ooh. It was so bad I couldn't even pick up a paper clip. Wow. Goodness. Anyway, the good news is I'm 97% better and am walking a few miles a day in Central Park to Hill. Woohoo.
Yeah.
What a nice place to walk. It's more than I could do. Your podcast will help me walk more, so you both can consider yourselves healers from a few seasons back.
Okay.
Moving on to this season, I love all the nerds. I'm enjoying this season more than I have in the last few years. It's great to have Mike, the writer-actor who lets Jeremy boss him around and was able to not get defensive. I love his poker face. And as with most fans, I'm loving Christian the super nerd. It is so weird to watch his physical contact with others. His hugs seem very awkward, as if he has learned over the years that giving someone a hug is what humans do. But it just doesn't get the timing right. Yeah. Too bad Jeremy had to be voted out. I did like listening to him talk, but I agree with everyone that he has no one to blame but himself. I hope Natalie can get herself together and assimilate better. I appreciate a tough, assertive woman, but you need to adjust that on Survivor with the younger folks. You are generally more chill. More chill.
Who are generally more chill? The young folks are generally more chill.
That's why that wasn't making sense, and yet I did not change it.
We got it. I tag team. I got it for you.
Okay. Thank you, honey. Angelina, who shifted everyone's mind to vote out Jeremy, gets big points for that maneuver. Lastly, the edit made a big enough deal about Bee's leg injury, so I am thinking that it will become a bigger issue for her. That's all I have this week. All right, thanks, Tina. Welcome back. And glad you're healing.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Sorry that you had to go through that. There was an extra video with Natalia talking about different folks. And I guess the extra videos didn't really grab me the way they have in the previous weeks, especially last week's. But this one was interesting to me because it showed her recognizing Angelina's ability and also assessing it as a threat.
Yep.
And I did like that. I like that she's not just, goofing along out there.
She said Angelina's very eloquent. I am not.
Mm-hmm.
That
and that
tells
might
me
be a problem.
I'm not sitting in the inn with her.
Yeah, that was interesting. I'm glad they showed that.
Me too.
And I guess I continue to be surprised that Alec is so eloquent because they hide that in the episodes. But he seems to be pretty well spoken in the extras.
Well, I like him and Natalia better than I thought I would, though I'm not a huge fan of Natalia. She's doing okay. So
you had a big reaction to Angelina in that extra clip too. I don't know if it was something about the way she was talking or how she was describing things.
I don't remember.
No? Okay.
What did she say?
I think it was more like how she was saying things that like sparked it for you.
Well, sometimes, the arrogance comes through a little bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, she keeps it under wraps pretty good from what they've shown us, but it does come through. It's just like, I didn't like it when the David tribe was getting on the boat, and, it just what I read from her actions.
Gestures.
Yes, her gestures was, oh, bless their hearts. Mm-hmm. We're so much better than them. And she said, we're stacked over here and they're just them.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, okay.
I could totally see her playing sort of the snooty, snobby, I'm better than you sorority sister kind of role in a movie. She could bring that. She could do that with ease. That's what I was thinking after watching that extra clip of her. And that may have nothing to do with her at all.
That's true.
Yeah. It's just... But
she does keep it, I think, for the most part, under wraps, because they say, though she hasn't hidden the fact that she's very intelligent. Mm-hmm. Because that's what Natalia was saying. She's very smart. She's really... And Natalia's an engineer, so she's not stupid herself.
Nope, not by any stretch.
So I don't think she's hidden that.
She's identified a threat in Angelina, even though they are allied. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that one's probably one of the better ones, the Natalia clip this week. Next up, we got a call from Eliza.
Hey, everybody. It's Eliza from Kentucky. So I didn't get to watch this episode with Nicola, but I watched this episode with my mom, so it was fun. I had Be Safe, and everyone else in the listener feedback and stuff thought that she was going to get voted out, which made me think that it was too obvious, so I went against it. Which I know can bite you in the butt sometimes, but I just thought I wanted David to win the challenge, but I was talked into believing that it wouldn't happen from the listener feedback because they're not strong and they're not working well together. I kind of had it in my gut, like Joanne did, that they were going to win, but I just went ahead with it because logic wins over gut for me. So I had Christian going home. I knew that they would want someone weak to go out, and I'm not ready to vote my USB out, who is Gabby, so Christian was the next one I thought of. I also had Lyrsa, Mike, and Natalie safe. What do you think about that? Stacy, pretty bold, huh? Natalie safe. I was through the end of the episode. And at the beginning of this episode too, because they kept talking about my USB Gabby. I know I won't get too many chances for save points for them, so I'm glad that I took them. So I got all my save points. I just didn't get out my vote out point this week. Nick and Christian are Davy's top guys. People notice Gabby is manipulative. Christian and Nick think they're the ones in charge and want to throw Gabby under the bus. No, that's my USB, and I like her. I wrote down Nick and Christian are Davy's top guys just because I thought that was an interesting thing that they put in there. We hadn't really seen that, and Davy said that, so I think that maybe we should just remember that for later. I was hoping that they were talking about Gabby at the beginning of the episode going, and then that meant she would not be going home, which was true. Did you notice that there was a sea bass reference? I think it was Cara Kay. I can't remember who it was. They were looking at the little crab and the seashell, and somebody was like, sea bass. I can't believe that Cara thinks no one has to strategize just because they're not going to tribal right now. She was upset about Jeremy going around and strategizing, and I mean, you're on Survivor, you should always be strategizing. I should have gone with my gut. Dang it, Goliath won, but at least my USB won't go home. After the challenge and the way that B's team looked at her, B, my mom screamed, they're looking at her like, she's the meat the sharks are going after. My mom was so funny in this episode. She was really into it. Let me reiterate for this podcast again. I don't like Angelina. There's so many reasons, but I'm just leaving it at that. I like how calm Natalie stayed in tribal council. And I thought Mike's shirt was perfect for the game all the way through. It says, "Can't we all just get along?" I really liked that. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm so frustrated. How am I supposed to choose a vote out from no information? So I guess we have to think about like some obvious stuff. Natalie is probably going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. Christian might rub some people the wrong way. Gabby's already rubbing people the wrong way. B is hurt. I don't know. So I'm going to have to listen to the other people and listen to their feedback, and hopefully people are just smarter than I am. Thanks for listening. Can't wait to hear you guys. Bye.
Thanks, Eliza. I think you were channeling Ethel Merman there for a second, too. Yes, that was a bold pick, having Natalie safe. I, chose that route, so I can confirm it as bold.
I thought about it, but I was too chicken.
You went with your gut.
I went, I can't do it. I'm too scared. I thought, I'm not going to get any points off the
Eliza and I got our safe points. Moving on.
You got, I got my safe points.
No, I mean off Natalie.
Well, I didn't off now.
Yeah, that was the whole point. You're trying to dodge that.
I hear you.
Thanks, Eliza. Next up, we got an email from Nathan in Portsmouth, Virginia. Hello, Joanne and Stacy. Episode 3 was an interesting episode. First, what was Jeremy doing calling the tribe together to talk to everyone about talking strategy when he deemed it wasn't yet necessary? It was way too early in the game to be doing anything that could put you on the chopping block. I had a bad feeling for him as soon as I saw him pull everyone together and looked at the reaction of his tribe mates. On the same hand, why create such a fuss when Natalie was asking to speak to someone on the beach without you being present? I understand not wanting to leave, but he again didn't realize that it's best not to get so noticed this early in the game. Although at that point, I guess it was too late to not be noticed. Yeah, he had kind of committed at that point. Mike was right when he said Jeremy was his own worst enemy. I think it's a shame because I think it would have been fun to watch Jeremy play more into the season. Also, he seemed to be a big fan of the show. I'm not sure Natalie particularly cares. I understand the reason the tribe voted for Jeremy, but the fact everyone on the tribe voted for Jeremy left me with two questions. One, was there more to the story than we were allowed to see? I wasn't shocked that Jeremy was voted out, but I was surprised that everyone voted for him. I can't help but wonder if there was a lot more that was edited out of the episode. 2, are the days of keeping the tribe strong, both physically and in morale, over? If so, is it because players are realizing the nature of the individual game while hoping that when the merge happens, that original tribe lines will quickly fade? Or is keeping the tribe strong not a focus because the tribes switch around so much? Speaking of this soon into the season, each tribe has only had one vote, so alliances are still being formed and really haven't had a chance to be tested. I wonder if they thought the David versus Goliath theme wasn't working as they wanted, so they decided to end it early, or if this was the plan all along. Well, they have, I'm just going to answer that right now so that I don't accidentally miss it. They have stated before that they plan out these type of things ahead so that they're not reacting and sort of manipulating the game because it is considered a game show.
That they have to turn it in to CBS and it has to be approved before.
Not that we don't all question things from time to time.
Exactly.
We do because you know there's
but that's what we've been told.
There's a coincidental correlation and there's a causal correlation. But yeah, it's our understanding that all the moves are planned out ahead of time, what's going to happen when, like that. Okay, back to Nathan. I enjoyed the episode, but it did leave me with many questions. I'll be out of town next week, but I'll catch up when I get back. Talk to you after episode 5. All right, thanks, Nathan. We'll be looking forward to that.
Have a safe trip.
Next up, we got a call from Nicola-n-Jackson.
Hello, this is Nicola and
Jackson. One of them got voted out. And I pretty like it because I liked all the challenges. And on that mini game, I didn't like it.
Okay, so basically what I think Jackson was trying to say was you wanted the purple team to win the challenge, didn't you?
Yup.
And you were mad when they lost, weren't you?
Yes.
Yes.
And I didn't like the orange team.
You don't like the orange team. They won. They got the puzzle right and everything. And then Jackson thought Daniel was going to go home. He calls him Daniel. And ended up being Jeremy. So he dug his own grave pretty much with his antics this week. And then hearing some of his exit interviews, I think he's dug his own grave with CBS, and I don't think he'll be back, which is unfortunate because I think he would he was doing a pretty good job up until this week.
And it's up week because I have school Saturday and Monday.
Oh, okay.
And also, we're going to Nerf Wars.
We're not going to Nerf Wars. What did you say about going to being on Survivor today?
I like to do challenges and win everybody.
That's what you would do?
Bye, everybody.
I enjoyed the episode. Didn't get to watch with Eliza this week, but maybe next week. She had some interesting predictions during the first 10 minutes of the show. I was like, oh my, she is like psychic, and I should have gone with her predictions instead of mine. Still lost the vote off point. I didn't get the vote off, and I lost the safe point. So I'm up to my usual speed in JSFL. Look forward to hearing from everybody else, and hope you all have a good weekend. Thanks for everything that you do. Everybody take care. See you next week. Cheers.
Thanks, Nicola. Thanks, Jackson. Good job. And like Nicola mentioned, there was Jeremy's interviews. This goes back to Nathan's questions, too. He decided to take a certain path with his interviews and some of the things he was saying. And, some other folks are going to get into it in the listener feedback show, so we'll cover it then. But, it's like Nicola said, there's probably a good chance he won't be coming back. Next up, we got an email from Christiana in Boston.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. I found it interesting that Christian and David both gave credit to Gabby for the move to get rid of Jessica, when that is not the story we saw play out. I have Gabby as my USB, so I would love to believe she is this champion strategist. But so far we haven't seen much of that, and based on next week's preview, I don't see that changing anytime soon. Moving to the challenge, I wasn't entirely sure why the Goliaths automatically blamed Natalie for the loss and not Allison, other than the fact that they just don't like her, when she stated she was determined to get Natalie out. But Angelina was thinking the long game and seemingly managed to sway the entire tribe to change what seemed to be an obvious first vote. With that, they were really banking on a swap, which it looks like is happening. But I was hoping they were going to stick with the two set tribes and seeking how that would play out. But the swap itself does have to come at the right time, because if you wait too long and one tribe dominates the other, then they won't have the numbers in the swap and will likely continue to get picked off one by one.
Good point.
So from an entertainment perspective, avoiding that scenario is ideal. Looking forward to next week and seeing how the swap shakes out. Have a good Sunday, everyone. All right, and thank you, Christiana.
Mm-hmm.
Up next, we have an audio clip from Cameron.
Hey, Joanne and Stacy, this is Cameron calling in for the Week 3 listeners' feedback. Unfortunately, I'm by myself this week. So on Wednesday, I went and saw Venom at the movie theater, sort of unrelated, but before the movie started, they played just the two of us on the speaker, and I thought that was sort of a fun nod to the podcast. You know, last week Stacy mentioned, and I thought about, could this be another Palau? Could this be Palau round 2? But I think we can see after this week, David's pulled off the win. They're going to be swapping tribes next week, so unfortunately we won't be seeing that happen this season. I actually sort of predicted Mike and Jeremy's downfall. I mean, right when I saw that scene, right when I saw them talking, and of course I think everyone predicted it too, it's like, Jeremy's going down from here. Mike is going to have to readjust his game. During the episode, I thought, if Nick can pull off detaching Gabby and keeping Mason Dixon between him and Christian together, that would be awesome. I'd love to see him pull off these kinds of villainous game moves, but that won't be happening today since David pulled off the right strategy to win. Christian and Gabby doing the puzzle, Carl and Elizabeth doing the lassoing, that was perfect. B retrieving the rope in the beginning, not that she did bad, but that injury does look that bad. I don't think she's going to be on the show for more than 2 more weeks, unfortunately. Goliath seemed pretty solid at first when they put Purple Alec on the rope, but it was a slippery slope from there and they could not readjust. I said all it takes is one loss for Natalie to actually start listening, because she's vulnerable now, of course. It became clear to me that she doesn't listen to people because Jeremy was just repeating what he said last time to her, and now she's actually listening to him. And last time, of course, she went back and said, I don't care what he says, I'll do my own thing. And even if she was trying to take Jeremy out, Natalie was not smart in how she tried to exclude him from the conversation. Confrontation in that fashion does not take the target off your back. Towards the end, I thought the young girls of Goliath, being Natalia, Kara, and Angelina, they're starting to worry me. I like Natalia a little bit more after this episode. Kara is sort of in my opinion, and I'm starting to like Angelina less, honestly. Of course, I want to see Nick go far, and while Nick may seem to be a strategic villain, he's no Chris Daugherty from Vanuatu, and ultimately, he won't be able to take on a pack of the cute girls, whether it's later in the merge or right now in the tribe swap. Though, with the aside where they were talking about the vote-off, it seemed as though they were somewhat indecisive together, as Natalia, in my opinion, had a better reasoning behind how the vote should go. Ultimately, it was now or later with Jeremy. I called it last week that he'd be going the same way as Mookie and Alex from Fiji, so go me.
Yeah,
though I still would rather have seen Natalie go, of course. Moving forward, will Goliath just show us a repeat of Navidi? Natalie claimed that group was her only loyalty. Goliath strong, Navidi strong, but we'll see moving forward. Alright, I appreciate this podcast. I love listening to everyone else's responses. Joanne and Stacy, thank you for everything you do. I hope to hear some excellent feedback, and I hope everyone here has a great weekend.
Alright, thanks Cameron. We appreciate your feedback too. Yeah, I think that loyalty could end up proving out just like you predicted there. We might see an echo of last season with the Goliaths in control. Look forward to seeing that play out. Next up, we got an email from Sophie in Texas. Hi, Joanne and Stacy. I don't want to wake anyone while they sleep, so I'll type a message about the episode instead. So try your best British accent while you read. Well, how about I'll do Southern, which is supposedly a dialect of
Honey,
British.
You do Southern all the time.
Exactly. It's not, Sophie says, it's not one I wanted to rewatch. I just want the sun to come out for them. Like Annie said, the sun will come out tomorrow. I'm really hoping it does. All I could think of when Jeremy kept making mistake after mistake, first back at camp, then at tribal, was the proverb, you can catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. Nothing was sweet or healing about his words, and it left a vinegary, sour taste in my mouth instead. He went a little too far at tribal and dug his own grave, most likely just wanting to go out with a bang. With all those mean things he said about his sister, Natalie, I hope he also has friends who are willing to take a bullet for him. I just kept thinking back and admiring Boston Rob's game. He always made everyone feel so safe and included. This stopped a lot of scrambling around camp. If Jeremy is a super fan, he should have known this. In an article I read, Jeremy said Angelina turned on him once she heard him say that her and wrestler John were in a showmance. Apparently, she made everyone swear they wouldn't mention anything in their confessionals, but Jeremy was adamant that she did take care of John better than any of the other guys. Angelina was worried it would look bad, especially as a newlywed, to have these accusations going around on air, hence she targeted him full force. Now, that's Jeremy's version of it. So, a fan last week asked about the rides back in a boat. Pat said in an interview that on the boat they weren't allowed to talk, get eye contact, or touch each other. They were passing things or places they weren't allowed to see, so had to be shuffled down in the lower cramped hull of the boat. He didn't say anything about blindfolds, though. Next week, I'm looking forward to the swap and excited to see when the idol nullifier will show up. Maybe more idols need to be floating around first. By the way, I like what you did there with floating, if you're alluding to that Carl video. If not, well, it's just a happy coincidence. By the way, Natalie couldn't sit out this week, as hadn't she sat out on the last challenge? That sit-out rule is per cycle. It's not...
Yeah, that's when they have reward challenges and immunity.
In the same cycle.
But not immunity to immunity.
Right. Next week, I want to see Dan and Kara split up. How will he act without his kryptonite? Also think that's good bringing that back up, that he got that backwards to begin with. Also, things don't look good for Bee's knees. Finally, I want to see a food reward. I enjoy watching their sugar rush and then crash. Hope you're all safe from the hurricane, and so is your mom too, Joanne. Thanks for everything and for everyone's input. Ciao for now. Thanks, Sophie.
Yeah, thanks, Sophie. Mom's great. I didn't get to talk to her for 2 whole days, but my nephew did manage to find a signal and make a quick call, pull off the side of the road, make a call, and let me know they were all okay.
And then on, the third day, she finally got power and phone back? She
finally got power back the third day, and water, and
which was
the
lucky
TV.
Because there were still a lot of people in her town.
Well, there
without.
still is. Till one of my friends that I went to high school with said they wouldn't get power till at least Monday. Some of them were going to take a week, so...
Yeah, they're still finding people, too. That was really bad.
Yeah, it was bad, but my mommy's fine.
Yeah. Thanks, Sophie. Good job. Appreciate you writing in when you couldn't record that. Next up, we got a call from Drew and his crew.
Hey everyone, this is Drew and
Charlie and Dumbo and Kitty.
And
Adelaide.
So we got a little menagerie here. Milo is awake, but he's still in his bed, so we're just going to do our recording quick before he comes down to make things a little simpler. And Mommy is on a long run this morning. Yeah, watching the timer. All right, just a few quick thoughts. Good episode, a good recap. I broke my streak. I got full points this week. I don't know. I thought the whole idiotic thing was kind of telling, and so I decided to just go with Jeremy. And I'm kind of with you guys. I don't know that it was exactly a blindside, but like I said last week, we all know how Jeff loves to make these grand proclamations, whether or not they're accurate, and sometimes I wish he'd cool it. You know, he's in rare form in the challenges these days, but whatever. Oh, those challenges were crazy. The rain. Like you were saying, they all were in pretty good spirits, except Lyrza just looked miserable. Oh, Charlie likes B because he can read her name. It's a short one, huh? Only 2 letters. He has been reading. Been doing good, huh, buddy? That's Dan. Okay. I was pretty impressed. Dan. Yeah. I was pretty impressed with a few people this week. I thought Angelina was pretty good. Was she the one leading against, yeah, she was the one leading the charge against Jeremy, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, Waffles has joined us. So she could explain herself pretty well, and Natalia almost threw a wrench into things by insisting on Natalie, but then it ended up being unanimous, so that's good. I just gotta say, I've been kind of croaky the last few days, and so this throat thing, I don't feel super sick, but I just sound terrible. So sorry about that. Also, for some reason, my computer has been having some audio issues, just doesn't have the best mic recording quality. So we use what we have and we do the best we can, right? So I don't have much to say about the David tribe, except for Gabby's slowly unraveling, and that's, crazy. She's spiraling downward. I'll start with the loser of the week, which is going to be Jeremy. I get what he was trying to say to Natalie, and he thought he was helping her, and, that he was so self-unaware in trying to help someone become more self-aware. It's just the irony of it is really funny. The winner of the week, then, I'm just going to give it to Natalie, actually, even though she's driving people nuts, and they kind of cooled it with her edit this week. She didn't seem quite so abrasive, but she pulled it off, and that part where she said his skin was gorgeous made me laugh, so it was funny. I think she's going to be a valuable asset to somebody in the coming weeks, especially with the tribe swap, but I do not think, there's no way she can win. She has no chance at winning. And I am looking forward to hopefully just a 2-tribe swap. I think I'd be fine either way, but I like 2 tribes. So, yeah, I even had Natalie safe this week, guys. That's right. I kind of had the idea, and then when Paul said he was going to do that reverse psychology thing, I was like, I think I'll try that too. And it didn't work the same way that he intended, I think, to get her out. But I got a point, so I've got a point on Jeremy too. All right, I think, let's see. I'm looking at Alec, Dan, or Kara, some of these little players on the Goliath tribe to go next. Who do you think is going next, Charlie? Who do you think is going to go home next?
I think so.
Natalia? Okay, who do you think, Adelaide? Him? Yeah, that's a him. John. Ooh, well, some people are hoping not. I actually kind of like John these days. He's kind of like a funny guy, and he has like the big talk, but I think that it's just part of his persona. I don't even know that he has that big of an ego. That dude is huge, though. All right, everyone have a great weekend. Talk to you next time. Bye. Say bye.
Bye.
Excellent. Thanks, Drew. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Adelaide and the menagerie. Next up, we got an email from Maureen in Jackson, New Jersey.
This is only the second time in 10 years that I have emailed you, but I just had to tell you guys about this after listening to your latest listener feedback show. I was getting ready for work using mouthwash before brushing when the phrase crazy moose size was mentioned, along with the other phrase that cracked Stacy up.
Stoner Klingon.
And I ended up almost choking to death with laughter.
That's great.
I've been listening all these years, never missing an episode, and I really enjoy listening to you guys and the listener feedback as well. Thanks for the great podcast, and wishing you and your listeners many more in the years to come. All right. Thanks, Maureen. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That was excellent.
Gave us a good laugh.
Uh-huh. Next up, we got a call from the Peace Bear, BrandonA.
Hello, Joanne, Stacy, Survivor fans. Brandon from Cleveland. Another fantastic episode of Survivor. This season is just so highly entertaining. I just love so many of these characters. It really, really sucked to see Jeremy go. I was a big fan of his. It's just kind of unfortunate how that whole situation went down with him and Natalie. I do think the funeral comment was a bit much and over the top. I didn't think he needed to take it that far. But for the most part, everything he was saying about her I pretty much agree with. And I don't like the way Natalie's been behaving, but it has been very entertaining, again, so I'm glad she's still on the show as far as that goes. And I think she had a few legitimate arguments against him as well. But I don't know if I heard it on this podcast or a different podcast, but I know there's somebody made a question of the skin comment. Oh, you have beautiful skin. I think that just has to do with, I know for me personally, I would be very cognizant of going on that show. There would be an inherent desire, even if I wasn't completely aligned with another black person, but as a black man going on a show like that, I would want to look out for other people of my race as much as possible. I think I'll be ultimately be more loyal to my alliance. So if that other person wasn't in my alliance, I would, keep my loyalties where they needed to be, but I would try to look out for them as much as possible, and I would try to make sure that I'll not be in conflict with that person as much, because I would like to show some kind of stick-togetherness, as we will be airing this to the entire society, watching this, not just in the U.S., but abroad as well. And I think that comment from Natalie had to do with maybe just kind of taking a little bit of salt out the wound, saying, I know I was just in this major conflict with the other black person on my tribe, but I'm still very pro-black people, so I'm acknowledging your skin is beautiful because black is beautiful. I think it was that type of thing. That's okay. Would be my guess, but obviously I don't know for sure. I kind of don't want the tribes to switch. I kind of want to see those dynamics ironed out even more on the David and the Goliath tribe. I kind of want to see at least one more vote before the split. But either way, I think it'll be interesting enough. I'm just getting so much from both tribes that I can't wait to see next episode. And good on my boy Mundo surviving another week, and he's looking good. And I hope Dr. Allison can do some stuff too. She is my USB after all. So we'll see what happens, even though it looks like Angelina's the one running the show right now. But we'll see. Can't wait to hear what everybody else has to say. Talk to you guys next week. Peace.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for answering that question for me or giving me your insight. I appreciate that. Next up, we got an email from Michael in Utah. Hi, Joanne and Stacy. I just have a quick observation. Check out the Goliath tribe spearhead at about 5 minutes, 48 seconds into the CBS episode. They've been bouncing those tips on hard surfaces so much the tips are curled back. It's probably the result of stabbing crabs on the rocks like we saw Jeremy doing in front of Mike. They'd be lucky if they can beat up the fish and knock them out with the blunt tips of that Hawaiian spear. You guys are welcome at my fire anytime. Thanks, Michael. We appreciate you checking in with that. Yeah, we definitely noticed that, too. It's quite a mess.
Oh, you'd think they'd have something they could at least try to straighten it, even if they use the machete to kind of take some of the bends out or make it a little bit
I think you'd have a better
straighter.
chance with the tools that the David tribe got for building their shelter, maybe, for straightening them back out.
Yes, but they don't have any of those.
Not yet. We'll see what the shuffle brings.
Okay.
Next up, we got a call from Parker.
Hey, it's Parker from Indiana, and that was another good episode of Survivor David versus Goliath. So last episode was a really good episode for Jeremy. This episode, not so much. You could just tell that tribal council, he was so done, and he was just lashing out. And, I was like, come on, Jeremy, you should know better. And then, so I didn't like that much, but what I did love was everything Jeremy said, it showed Mike, and he was just making this like, oh crap face. And I knew once Mike sat down, yeah, he voted for Jeremy because he just had such sadness in his eyes when he went and sat down. And he was like, yep, I just voted off my greatest ally. So yeah, next episode, tribe swap, and I think B might be going home. You know how in Heroes vs. Villains, James hurt his leg and then he just stuck around forever? That's probably going to happen with B. They'll get off someone else and then finally get off B. Since it's the tribe swap, I don't know about that. I think it's going to be B next week. So we shall see, and I'm kind of bummed out it's going to be a tribe swap, to be honest. I like this back and forth battle between the Davids and the Goliaths, but now it's just like, oh, here we go, switching everything up. Hopefully it saves some of the Davids and gets out some of the Goliaths, makes it less of a pagonging, but honestly, I don't see it happening like that. I think we're doomed for another Malolo Naviti. I think it would have been awesome if they would just stayed unswapped and just battled it out, because we haven't seen that since Heroes vs. Villains, and that worked so well. You know, at the beginning, the heroes just got decimated, and then the villains started losing, and then they merged even, and, you know, that fantastic thing that happened. So I would have loved to see something like that this season, but I'd hope nobody was dumb enough to make the mistake JT did. Kind of bummed out it's going to be a tribe swap, but good things always come from tribe swaps, even if it means an amazing player gets voted off way too early. Good things always come from tribe swaps, so it's going to be exciting. Yeah, I think that's all I got. All right, I will see you guys next time.
Thanks, Parker. Yeah, another vote for the no, don't swap. Next up, we got an email from Brandon in Brooklyn.
Wow, what an awesome episode in teaching people how not to play Survivor. Jeremy and Natalie would be amazing teaching an online class about that. Jeremy was horrible in this game. He was paranoid and talked way too much. He just put the biggest target on his back. How can he go and hold a tribe meeting and ask people to stop having side conversations, but then we see him doing the same thing? Natalie is too stubborn and delusional for her own game. With the tribe swap coming up, she better hope it's a 2-tribe split, because she can hide. But Napalm Natalie needs to become Nice Natalie. I do think Natalie will be a free agent and join up with some David people. On the David tribe, I'm not liking how Carl and B have crybaby-itis and felt sad because they were outplayed. They want to target Gabby, but little do they know Elizabeth and the Mason-Dixon alliance pulled the blind side. I think Angelina and the Mason-Dixon boys are the strongest people in the game. I think Gabby and Kara could be in big trouble with the tribe swap. I hope the mayor of Slamtown can join up with Christian. I can't wait to see the next episode. All right, thanks, Brandon.
Yeah, I think Brandon's right. This is going to be a big test for Natalie. She got a lot of very direct, constructive criticism per her request at that tribal council, and if she can change her game, I'll get back on her train, her fan club, but somehow I don't think that's likely to happen.
I don't either.
No.
She says one thing, but I'm sure they all, like I said, they should have all been rolling their eyes like, yeah, right, you're open to constructive criticism.
I think Jeremy had that one part right. She's going to stay the way she is, but she's been given an opportunity to change. We'll see if she can adapt. Next up, we got a call from David.
Hey guys, it's David in Pittsburgh. I couldn't call in last week, so I want to get back to Gabby and her meltdown before Jessica got booted. When your viewers called in, I was really surprised at how many people were critical of Gabby. I can totally understand how she felt. We saw her try to talk to the other two women, and they kind of dismissed her. Don't worry about it. This is who we're going to vote for. And it was interesting because they definitely needed her vote. There were 4 of them. She made the 5th one, and they also needed her in the game because of her puzzle-making skills. So I was really surprised that Jessica and B would not spend a little extra time with her to strategize. Once Jessica was gone, I was shocked that Christian threw Gabby under the bus. And again, I was thinking of them as a couple, I guess a little bit more than a showmance, but it wasn't even that, because he immediately threw her name out there. And then we see Nick on a raft with B and Davey and Carl, and he's definitely plotting against Gabby. So if there's a showmance, it's between Christian and Nick. I read an article that Jessica says that both Christian and Nick have girlfriends. So I guess, Gabby, you may be going sooner than I expected. Now, get to last week with Napalm Natalie and Jeremy the Truth Teller. Wow. The one thing I haven't heard anyone talk about is the fact that both are African Americans and had a great reason to be united. And so, of course, Natalie used that when she came up to him and said, "But my brother, I thought you were going to be with me. I thought you were going to give me love." Well, by then, she scorched the earth so many times, and he's getting singed. I can see him backing away. Unfortunately, Jeremy played his hand a little too, well, he was perceived as playing the hand a little too strongly. He certainly had reason to let people know some of the things he said, but definitely should not have been running around spreading the information about Dan finding the idol. And why in the world they ever kept Natalie, I'll never know. But aren't we glad they did, because she is prime television watching. I mean, really enjoyable watching that. Now, I'm not sure about the swap next week. I hope they can keep the David and Goliath theme alive and not just have Jeff telling us that this is what's going on, and that it actually does go on. But I am really, really enjoying this season. Last season is already forgotten and at the bottom of my Survivor pile. So I will talk to you guys next week. Again, grateful for the job you're doing. Bye.
All right. Well, grateful for you, too, and your feedback. Thanks, David. Next up, we got an email from Josh the Plush Moose from Massachusetts. Dear Joanna and Stacy, I'm seriously concerned for Stacy's health. When I first used the wild moose-eyes joke for Alan Ball, there wasn't much of a reaction. Last week, using it for Natalie, hoo boy. That kind of escalated reaction on re-exposure is indicative of a potentially life-threatening allergy. Joanne, please keep Stacy away from that joke, or make sure he carries an EpiPen. Natalie so embodies that phrase that I don't. Yeah,
that's what it was.
It did. It's just it just clicked more.
You connected it to her
so intensely. Yeah, it just really clicked.
Here's my take on it. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Josh, because that was actually quite healthy for Stacy. I don't think there's anything more healing than a good old belly laugh and a laugh that you can't control.
Yep.
So I think it was healing.
Yeah, not allergic but healing. Okay. Mm-hmm. Could be. There you go. Josh continues, this week's observations. Jeremy's arc in this episode was like watching someone walk unknowingly into quicksand. Oh, yeah, that works, doesn't it, on multiple levels. Lovable nerd Christian is actually playing a dispassionately sociopathic game, as someone else pointed out. This is how I think people hug. It's true that John didn't catch the biggest fish, but next to him, most fish do look like minnows. Camp Goliath may not have much of a shelter, but it does have a hermit crab races. Yes, they do. Hence the Sebastian reference. Losing the spear can get you voted out. So can losing people's trust. You'd think someone who watches Survivor would know that. Trust me, you don't want to have an overdue book at the Slamtown Public Library. Jeremy was a big threat to himself. Dan and Cara skip stones. Cara should skip Dan. I thought the bee's knees was supposed to be a good thing. When it came to the puzzle, Angelina was a Monday morning quarterback, not a team player. If she knew the answer, why not signal her teammates? It's ironic that Allison blamed Natalie for the puzzle. Wasn't she out there too? When she's done with Survivor, Angelina could do well in Congress as a majority whip. When Mike got back home, I'll bet he added a mudroom to his mansion with baskets for napping. Jeremy calling out Natalie's flaws at Tribal left me shaking my head. He needs to look in the mirror. Jeremy's funeral rant was ironic foreshadowing. He had 9 pallbearers at Tribal. Who will keep Mike safe from physical harm now that Jeremy's gone? I'm not surprised John's doing well. Pro wrestling is a zero-sum game for limited spots and screen time, and is rife with backstage politics. Sound familiar? Yes, it does. Next time, drop your buffs. Will the swap result in unequal tribes, or is someone going home first? Anyway, that's it for me for now. Thanks, Joanna and Stacy, for all you do. Can't wait to hear what the other fans have to say. Thank you, Josh. Enjoyed that immensely. Next up, we got a call from Rodney.
Hey, Joanna and Stacy and Survivor fans everywhere. This is Rodney from Illinois. Missed last week's input, so this week I thought I'd call in as I got a break from schooling for like a couple days here and don't have to write any more papers. So let's go over the episode. I think that they telegraphed too much that it was going to be Jeremy in the episode. The edit really told me, hey, Jeremy's going to go. They showed him a little bit last week and how he stood his ground against Natalie, and they kind of foreshadowed that pretty heavy. And I didn't get a chance to change my picks for the week before the episode aired because of school and kids and all kinds of stuff. But next week, I think I'm going to go with Gabby is going. I think they're similarly setting her up for next week's episode to go. She's very sad in the preview. She was sad last week. And I think with the shakeup, she's going to be taken away from Christian, which means she will probably be alone. And I don't know if anybody will pick her up or if they'll just cut her. Because like she said 2 weeks ago that she was pretty weak, just like Lyrsa. So I'm thinking that I'm going to put her as the next one out. Other than that, we didn't get much of anybody. The one thing I would have liked to hear Jeremy say is when everybody was saying, oh, Natalie's not a threat, we can get rid of her at any time. Well, at some point, when is Natalie not a threat going to affect everybody else going home? Because if Jeremy can go home because Natalie's not a threat, then Dan can go home because Natalie's not a threat, and John can go home because Natalie's not a threat. And that's something that I would have preached on if I was him, because the longer they take her in the game, the more she actually becomes a threat for your spot. So other than that, this episode was pretty by the numbers. Was happy to see the storm come back, because last episode I was like, well, I thought this was a rainy season, and then this episode they're like, okay, here's the rain. The rain's back. So I'm looking forward to hear what everybody else has to say, and I'm going to say neener to anybody that has Anna's USB. Bye.
Hey, Joanna, Stacy, and Survivor fans, it's Rodney again. I was just thinking, with 17 people, that clip on Gabby being so lonely could be her on Exile Island if they go to 2 tribes. Oh, no. What are my picks going to be this week?
Yes, indeed. Thanks, Rodney. Next up, we got an email from Jack in California. Hi, all Survivor fans. This season's off to a great start. The Goliath tribe seemed like a really fun group. I loved how they played the game snail racing, and it was great to see the tribe having fun. The rain's definitely going to be a factor this season. I'm glad to see the Davids win the immunity challenge this episode. I imagine that the pillows and comfort they received would be soaked, though, because of how hard it was raining during the challenge. Jeff had some fun talking through the rain and explaining the weather differences in just these first few days of the game. I'm not surprised at all about who got voted out this episode. I even put him as my vote out, thinking they would lose the challenge. Jeremy, it is never a good idea to gather all your fellow castaways to talk about the upcoming tribal, even when you feel like you are in trouble. It didn't help your cause, and it's one of the reasons you got booted. I think Natalie is still not going to make it far just because of her annoyance factor and no work ethic surrounding camp life. One more thing, I have been enjoying watching John a lot. I definitely think I misjudged him going into the season, but after seeing this episode, I hope he does well. Unfortunately, I still think he won't win, but I'd like to see him go far. Can't wait to see what the others have to say and look forward to the next episode. Thanks, Jack. Next up, we got a call from Marla.
Hi, Joanne and Stacy. Hi, Survivor friends. How are you? This is Marla without Sarah. Here's a few little morsels of feedback. Sarah is not a fan of this season because they have done at her school this huge anti-bullying campaign, and this David versus Goliath is sort of like against everything that she's been taught at school. So every time the Goliaths are sort of ha-ha at the Davids, she thinks it's horrible. So I'm going to have to wear her down. So I'm happy it's the merge next week. Hopefully that'll take the edge off. My Jabik could not have been worse. Everyone I thought seemed okay is like the worst ever, and everyone that I thought that person seems terrible, I really enjoy them. So I don't know what that says about me as a judge of character, but I do want to say that since I only read briefly about them, that hopefully it doesn't mean that I'm gonna be making all these horrible choices in the rest of life. I was happy that the Davids won this week. That was super fun. And that reward looked great, except, it got all wet. I thought, I don't know how I feel about that. Joanne and Stacy, thanks for all you do. Friends, we will talk to you next time, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
That is exactly how I felt, Marla.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, wet comfort items.
Hey, they'll...
I know. I'm sure I would be grateful, but yes. The thought of it sitting here just sounds
You get the
horrible.
perfect reference for it. Mike was happy to have his basket as a pillow as he lay in the mud. So a hammock and a wet pillow would be like, a holiday out there.
Yep, that would be like a 5-star hotel.
There you go. I like your Nelson laugh there, Marla. Good job. We look forward to having Sarah back, too. Next up, we got a call from Paul.
Hey, Paul in Louisiana here, and briefly, because I'm sure everyone will have covered this, it would appear that Jeremy is cut from the exact same cloth as Natalie. If he could have just shut up, but nope, unlike Skynet, he never became self-aware. But the icing on the cake is that he hopes that Natalie took something away from all of this. Mm-hmm. Now that's a huge case of ego talking right there, and I never saw that coming. But hey, who'd have ever thought that Natalie Napalm could be both a chemical weapon and a moisturizer? Still, to me, it wasn't about picking who went so much as who went first. So moving on, well, it appears as though the Thoroughbreds Alliance has moved along in favor of Nick's Mason-Dixon Alliance. I mean, holy crow, I never would have thought that Christian would turn on Gabby, let alone so quickly. Obviously, she went barking up the wrong tree for protection last week. Nick is turning out to be a better player than I thought, but I still feel that he's going to implode. Me, I'm hoping that he and Christian end up on opposite tribes and he has to start all over again. Okay, so it was nice to see my USB Angelina come into play this week. You know, I read an interview with Jeremy, and he's out there telling everyone that Angelina was infatuated with John, but didn't want anyone to know because she was a newlywed while they were out there on the island. So Angelina stopped her other tribe mates from talking about it in their confessionals. And that's where Jeremy's story completely falls apart for me because, come on, does she really have that much power over her tribe mates? So then, is anyone else liking all of these challenges in the rain? Because I sure am. It adds an extra bit of unpredictability to the whole event and can really skew things in fun ways. Sometimes the dry challenges are exactly that, cut and dry. But the rain is sort of like a strong gust of wind during a balanced challenge. Who knows what's going to happen? Me, I'm liking it. And speaking of challenges, why would Natalie volunteer to do the puzzle? It's never a good idea to take such an important role in a challenge when you know the people are already eyeing you up. Anyway, I'm predicting that after the mix-up, Natalie goes rogue and refuses to be David Strong or Goliath Strong. There will only ever be Natalie Strong for her. Predicting who goes next is just a shot in the dark, but did you see everyone's faces when B told them about her injury? Those faces more or less said, "Wow, girl, you are so out of here. Sorry." And that's why I'm picking B to go again this week. Her game was over the minute they called medical. So I guess that's it for me. Take care, everyone, and all my best to those who had to deal with Hurricane Michael. Truly. Take care now. Bye.
Thanks, Paul. When I think about B and what Paul was just talking about when she shared her knee injury and you could see it wrapped up, there's this video that was making the rounds, I don't know, maybe a few years ago. You see the wolves chasing some buffalo, and you see this buffalo running along, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere a bigger buffalo comes up behind it, flips that one, and then the wolves just swarm it. And the big guy's like, "Yeah, not me. It's this one. You want the weak one. Here." He just basically fed it to the wolves. Yeah.
I'm not sure why you needed to share that gruesome story.
Well, I didn't say anything about how it went down after that.
I know, but I'm very
It's funny
visual,
because the buffalo comes up behind the littler one and flips
I got it.
Yeah. Anyway. That's what I thought of when several people, including Paul, mentioned it. I kept seeing that over and over again through the listener feedback show. I'll see if I can find a clip of it and include it.
You're just peeking at me now.
No, I'm sure other people will be interested to see it,
and
too.
I'm all snuggled up here with you, and you're still trying to pick at me.
Yeah, so another thing I was thinking about when I was listening to Paul there and a couple other folks was, wouldn't it be interesting if Nick, who didn't do anything on his tribe and got called out for it, and Natalie, who didn't do anything on her tribe, end up in the third tribe where they have to build shelter?
Well, they
as
would
part of it.
certainly.
They won't have a shelter, right? Yeah. But that would be suitable for the two of them to end up with each other in that scenario if there is a third tribe.
Yeah, I don't even think Gabby would do well in that scenario. I don't think she would contribute to a shelter either. I don't think that would be her strong suit.
Well, B did teach her how to weave the palm frond, so maybe she could contribute that part.
Yeah. If they even made an effort, they might just go, we'll just tough this out till we get back to
Yeah.
one of the others.
Just all huddle around this tree while it
Let's
rains.
find a cave. Whatever. But, yeah, I don't think they're going to go to 3. Because I don't want them to.
I'm thinking that's the nullifier. This thought's just stuck in my head in the preview.
That what's the nullifier?
We see Carl out chasing coconuts in the water, and then they cut to one of the coconuts, and it's got, well, you said it's probably not blue, but I thought it was blue writing. Maybe it's purple writing or something like that on the coconut. There's some paint on the coconut that's floating in the water. Maybe that's the hidden immunity idol nullifier. Because we're all anxious to see that make an entrance, and this is the perfect time for it when you very likely could get some idols played.
I would have thought it was just a clue to something, but...
Well, they've definitely hit them in coconuts before, so...
Yes, they have.
So that would be an advantage. It wouldn't technically be an idol.
Yeah.
So I'm...
Well, I wouldn't think, but you never know on Survivor, that they would put an idol out there if they stay at 2 tribes. If they go to 3, of course, they would put one on the third, the new one.
All right, let's go back and look at who the targets may be after the shuffle.
B,
she's injured.
I still am uncertain about Carl. He just seems... So many videos with him crying and upset about...
Those are extra videos, though. They're not part of the main storyline.
True, but still, we're seeing a lot. We saw some of the same videos in the show where he was crying.
Different cuts of them, yeah.
Yes, true.
But I think it may seem overwhelming to you just because you've seen it so many times.
Yeah. I'm still a little concerned about him, though. Christian, I think he's probably going to be okay. They would probably want to keep him around for puzzles, if nothing else, whatever tribe.
If he ends up in the minority, though, against a majority of Goliaths, they may want to take him out, given the opportunity. Even though he could help that shuffled tribe win a puzzle, they may still take him out. Especially, like, if he's on there with Angelina, she'll be like, he's out of here.
I bet they will distribute the buffs in a way that won't happen.
Okay.
Because they have done that. You know, you choose from these, so we make sure there is a real shuffle. And, you know, the tribes don't just by chance end up being almost the same.
Although we see that happen plenty of the times.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
but not if they mix the buffs up.
Okay, so we said B, you think Christian's okay. I think that he could definitely be a target.
I think Davey's fine.
Yeah, Davey's got an idol, so he should last another cycle no matter what, as long as he's paying attention.
I think Elizabeth is fine.
Yep.
Gabby is iffy. Lyrsa's iffy, because they're both considered weak by the other tribe.
What about the Goliaths? Who's in trouble there?
I think Nick's good. Let's see. I think Alex fine. Who would they want to pick off?
Well, you fall back. It's like hitting the reset button a little bit, so you think Mike could be in jeopardy.
Yeah, Mike and Natalie.
Mike just outwardly...
I like Mike.
Yeah, I do too. But he conveys weakness. He just looks like weakness.
I think
and we
he's
haven't
just
seen
trying
him.
to play under
We
the
haven't seen him make any significant challenge contributions. He's got a good social game, evidently, right? He's in good with the ladies that are controlling what's going on there.
Well, and I think.
And then there's Natalie, obviously.
I think he would fit in good with any of the Davids. I just think his personality, you know, I don't know that they would target him if there were somebody weaker. So I think he's going to be okay.
You don't think a majority David alliance would take out Mike?
If he were the only one, but not necessarily.
Yeah, he seems like an obvious target. Likewise, if some other folks dial in on the Cara Dan showmance thing, they're very likely go after that too.
Well, the other thing, if there were a majority of Davids, then they might band together and take out some of the stronger people.
Yeah.
And not worry about, losing, just picking off the Goliath people so that at the merge they won't be outnumbered again.
So you want to make a prediction? We just got some good input. What's your best guess?
I'm debating between B and Natalie. B, because she's injured. Natalie, because she's Natalie.
Physically obvious with that rap. It's constantly reminding you that there's something wrong
and
there.
Because that's just...
And then Natalie seems to constantly remind you that there's something wrong there by her presence and the way that she communicates with people.
Well, yeah, I think she will upset people wherever she goes.
Yeah, sure thinking she didn't get any good takeaways from the tribal council feedback she got.
I don't expect that to be the case at all.
I hear you, but I do not accept your reality.
Yeah.
Moving on. Yeah.
I have not heard any constructive criticism. Just criticism. Anyway, that's just my guess. So I'm leaning between those two right now. Mm-hmm. And I think if B could do okay in the challenge, then she won't be a target. But if she shows weakness in the challenge, or if there's one person that's somebody's going to have to not play.
Slack. Yeah.
Because they're going to have...
Depends. Remember, you can send one to exile and then
that's what I mean. Somebody's not going to end up playing.
But that person who gets sent to exile is usually immune. They come back after tribal council.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So if she's that person, then she'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. I think you got two likely candidates if it were to go down that way that get shipped to exile. Got Gabby, who they're showing us having on the emotional roller coaster again, and potentially Carl too. Maybe that's why he's out chasing coconuts in the water.
Yep, I thought about that too, because of that clip. But I think those are your biggies.
Yep.
The weaker people. I think they're going to be the easy pickoffs for this week. I think, and at least until they get to know each other more.
Another great listener feedback show. Thank you so much to everyone who took the time to send in your thoughts and your predictions. That was excellent. You did a fantastic job. We enjoyed it all. Thanks for the analysis and the laughs.
Who did you say you thought was going?
B.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't really wavered from that. All right, yeah, we certainly enjoyed and love hearing what you thought about the episode. And we also want to say a big thanks to Scott. Thank you, sir, for your donation. We appreciate the support that goes to our operational costs, which come in every month. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for your generosity.
So he was able to find the new donate button.
Yeah, good. Excellent.
So really, everything is there. All you have to do is click on Read Now, and the page will look pretty much like normal.
Yeah.
So that's really the only difference.
It's the main page that's, and I'm still working on that. So hopefully we'll get that.
You made some good improvements.
More back to normal here shortly.
Did a good job.
Thank you. Definitely not a web guy, so it doesn't come easy for me. But we'll get that straightened out. And like I mentioned too, I think I included links in the recap episode. We're on Spotify now. We're on Google Play Music, so you can find us there if those are your preferred methods, as well as iTunes, or just going right to the web page and playing off the player that's there.
Which means absolutely nothing to me.
You don't know what Spotify is? Oh, okay. So you don't have to know.
Any of those. I
That's
don't,
fine.
and I don't have any desire to. I'm fine.
All righty. A little Luddite here.
If you guys play JSFL, don't forget, get your picks in before the deadline, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific time on Wednesdays.
Have a good one.